After more than 3 months, the city of Lubbock has officially passed an important milestone in the fight against COVID-19. Coming up, we'll have the latest details on a big improvement that is helping the city slowly return to normal.
In-person activities may not be the norm as the coronavirus pandemic continues, but there's still 2 university facilities that have continued to welcome in the tech community since the campus reopened in the fall. Find out where you can still enjoy some in-person entertainment next.
And there's only 3 days until one of the biggest sporting events of the year. We'll have a look at this year's Super Bowl matchup and a preview of what you can expect when the game goes to break.
This is the MCTV Weekday Update.
Welcome to the Thursday edition of the MCTV Weekday Update. I'm Kamryn Mendoza.
And I'm Bryant Torres.
Back in the fall, Lubbock and the South Plains areas saw the start of a huge spike in COVID-19 cases that many experts referred to as the second wave of the coronavirus. And in mid-October, that increase also led to more hospitalizations that triggered a new set of restrictions from the state. But as of this week, the city of Lubbock has passed an important mark that is leading to some changes here in Hub City. On Wednesday, January 26, hospitals in Lubbock and the surrounding trauma service area had a hospitalization rate of less than 15% for the first time since October 25th. 15% was the threshold set by the state, at which point Governor Greg Abbott's GA-32 order would kick in, limiting occupancies, closing some businesses, and restricting elective surgeries. But according to that order, if a rate of less than 15% was maintained for 7 days, those restrictions would be removed. And as of Tuesday, city officials announced that the Lubbock area had finally reached that milestone. With GA-32 no longer in effect, businesses that had previously had their occupancy reduced to 50% can now increase to 75% capacity. Bars that closed back in October are now allowed to open at 50% capacity, and doctors can now begin scheduling elective surgeries. One other restriction that has not yet been addressed is the city of Lubbock's current ban on outdoor events of more than 10 people. However, since that restriction was now put in place shortly after GA-32 went into effect, it's expected that the ban will soon be lifted both in the city and here on campus.
Along with a continued decrease in hospitalizations, yesterday's COVID-19 report also included another day of less than 100 new reports on coronavirus. According to the city's announcement, only 62 new cases of the COVID-19 were reported yesterday, along with 98 recoveries. The report also lists the number of currently active cases in Lubbock County at 1,489. There were also 2 more deaths reported on Wednesday. Here on campus, Wednesday's report included only 2 new cases of the coronavirus, with both of those coming from the student population. There are currently 59 cases active in the university community between 44 students and 15 employees. As of yesterday afternoon, there have only been 147 cases of COVID-19 reported at Texas Tech since employees returned to campus at the beginning of January. Free testing continues on campus this semester for the Texas Tech community. Tech's COVID-19 testing location can be found at 2533 15th Street at the southeast corner of the intersection of 15 and Akron, across from the sub. Testing is available Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. except for campus holidays. Appointments are not required, but you will need a mask and social distancing will be observed. For more information on the university's response to COVID-19 pandemic, just visit emergency.ttu.edu/coronavirus.
As COVID-19 cases continue to decline here in Lubbock, one thing that may become more common is on-campus activities. But for now, most options for students are limited to online and virtual opportunities. However, there is one campus department that is continuing to offer some fun and free options for those looking for in-person interaction. MCTV's Anakin Rios took a short trip to the west side of campus to find out more.
Thanks, guys. Well, I'm here at the Robert H. Ewalt Recreation Center here at Texas Tech, where they are giving students the opportunity to experience the precise sport known as archery. With the spring semester in full swing and students back on the grind of passing classes, the TTU Rec Center hosts a plethora of activities throughout the semester, not only to keep students physically active, but also broaden their horizons to newer activities as well.
You know, I know that everybody has been stuck at home for darn near a year, so coming in just to do literally anything at this point is really good. So I think thinking of things like archery, and we have badminton, 66 softball, all this kind of stuff is really good for the community as a whole.
Since archery isn't as common as other sports or activities, most people might be alarmed about the learning curve of archery, but students like freshman Braden Devers reassures newcomers about how accessible archery actually is.
It may seem intimidating, but it's honestly a lot more simple than you think it is, and it's just a lot of fun to just pick up a bow and just do simple stuff like this, try to hit a balloon.
The Rec Center also hosts many other activities you could take part in, including various team sports as well.
Pickleball is a hit here at the Rec, so we're definitely doing that. We have badminton, we have table tennis, like I said, we have 66 softball. It's more fun than it sounds. We have kickball and 3v3 volleyball coming up.
If you want to see upcoming events taking place here at the Rec Center, you can visit their website at departments.ttu.edu and go to the recreational sports page at the bottom. For MCTV News, I'm Anakin Rios. Back to you guys.
Tech's Rec Center may be one of the only places on campus with regular in-person activities, but there's at least one off-campus facility that is staying busy even as the pandemic continues. Tech's Equestrian Center is the home of the university's equestrian team. Over the weekend, the equestrian team hosted the 2020 edition of the Woolly Winter Horse Show. Starting early Saturday morning, riders and their furry companions were invited to come in and show off their skills without the typical frills required for formal competition. Participants came from the South Plains area and beyond, with all ages and skill levels invited to be part of the show.
We are putting on our Woolly Winter Open Show. This is a great show for riders all in our community, even all across Texas and Oklahoma, to come and ride, and it's a show that the Tech Equestrian team puts on. So it's a good chance for our riders to get in the pen and get ready for our show season in the spring.
Tech's equestrian team officially started their spring season earlier this week, with upcoming competitions continuing through March. The Equestrian Center also plays host to the other horse and animal-related events throughout the year.
Groundhog Day was on Tuesday, and both Phil and his West Texas counterpart, Prairie Dog Pete, saw their shadow, predicting 6 more weeks of winter. But if you've spent much time outside this week, you've probably thought the rodents got it wrong. Most of the South Plains saw a high at or near 80 degrees yesterday, and that followed 70-degree highs on Tuesday. So will the winter weather really be making a return as we head into the last half of the season? MCTV's Madison Hartin joins us in the studio with the latest look at the forecast. Madison?
Thanks, guys. Well, I wouldn't hold your breath, anybody. Prairie Dog Pete isn't exactly known for his accuracy, we must say. But the West Texas weather can be a little bit unpredictable here on the South Plains, especially in the early spring/late winter. We can never quite tell what's going to be our last cold snap or our first warm front of the season. But for the next couple days, it looks like we are going to be experiencing some warmer temperatures. For today, we did manage to see a little bit cooler conditions with a high of only 53 degrees, but it was very sunny outside, which kept things feeling pretty nice, and a little bit windy out there with a north by northeasterly wind coming at 20 to 30 miles per hour. Now, that wind is going to dissipate as we move into this evening and be replaced by a southeasterly wind coming at 5 to 10 miles per hour, which is a lot more manageable, and our low temperature is going to be dropping back down to 34 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, looking at the South Plains as a whole for this evening, we can see that we do have a slight chance of rain here out on the South Plains. Probably some chances of drizzling here in Lubbock, with a little bit higher chances out there by Dimmitt and Muleshoe, but I wouldn't hold your breath for any substantial precipitation. It's just not the right time for it when we don't have the right conditions. Moving into tomorrow, however, we are going to be seeing some drier, warmer conditions as our high temperatures for the South Plains climb back into the 50s, upper 50s, lower 60s, and our low temperatures for tomorrow are actually going to dip back into the freezing conditions again, at least out there by Friona, out there to the northwest of us, is always just a little bit cooler than it is here in Lubbock locally. So we could expect a little bit cooler temperatures out there, and we will finally be dipping below freezing again for the next few days. I know we haven't seen it in a little while. You might have thought winter was over, but sadly it is not yet. Back into Lubbock locally, we can see that for tomorrow, our high is going to climb up to 61 degrees with a low of 35 and a southwesterly wind coming at 10 to 15 miles per hour. For Saturday, very similar conditions to what we're experiencing today with a high of 59 degrees, a low of 35, and a north by northwesterly wind coming at 20 to 30 miles per hour. Not winds compared to what we experienced last Saturday with that dust storm that blew through town, but definitely some substantial winds out there. And then for Sunday, some nice conditions as we see a sunny Sunday with a high of 72 degrees, a low of 41, and a west by southwesterly wind at 15 to 25 miles per hour. That's all for MCTV weather. Back to you.
Thanks, Madison. The Lady Raider basketball team is celebrating today after breaking a recent 3-game losing streak with a victory on their home court. Last night, Texas Tech welcomed Kansas State to Lubbock for their first of 2 matchups with the Wildcats. K-State is winless in conference play this season, but they still put up a fight by taking a lead into halftime and extending it into the third quarter. But in the last 10 minutes of regulation, the Lady Raiders overcame a 13-point deficit to extend play into overtime. From there, Tech took control, putting up 12 more points to bring home the victory, 83-75. Senior Vivian Gray led the team in scoring with 28 points and 10 assists, and freshman Khadija Faye continued to make an impact with 20 points, 14 rebounds, and 2 assists. Last night's win put Tech at the 500 mark with the current record of 9-9 on the season. The Lady Raiders are also 4-8 in conference, putting them at 6th place in the Big 12. Next up for the Lady Raiders is a road trip to Ames, Iowa on Saturday for their second matchup with Iowa State. Tech is looking for a redemption after dropping their first showdown with the Cyclones back in January. At the USA tip-off for Saturday's game is set for 2 p.m. with TV coverage on Big 12, now on ESPN+.
The Lady Raiders weren't the only ones to notch another victory in conference play this week. The Red Raider basketball team also put another W in the win column with a huge victory on Monday night. Top 10 ranked Oklahoma was Tech's latest opponent as the Red Raiders looked to improve their resume for the NCAA tournament. Oklahoma came to town with a number 9 ranking that they had received only hours earlier when the weekly polls were announced. But that standing was put to the test quickly as the Red Raiders came ready to play. Both teams put on a defensive clinic for most of the night, with Tech holding the Sooners to under 20 points in the first half and neither team breaking 60 all night. Tech went into the half with a 7-point lead, and that was enough for them to keep pace with Oklahoma in the second half and secure the win, with a final score of 57-52. Only 2 Tech players scored in double digits in Monday night's matchup, with Kevin McCullough putting up 13 points and Terrence Shannon Jr. scoring 15. McCullough also had 4 steals and 8 rebounds to lead the team. The Red Raiders now stand at 5-4 in conference, putting them in the middle of the pack in the Big 12 standings. Tech hopes to continue their current winning streak with another victory on the road against Kansas State. The Red Raiders will meet up with the Wildcats at 3 p.m. on Saturday, and you can catch all the action on Big 12 Now on ESPN+.
After one of the most unusual years in history, the nation's most popular sport is gearing up for a huge showdown during one of the biggest events of the year. Super Bowl 55 is this Sunday. The annual sporting spectacular caps off a season that at one time many weren't even sure would even happen. After weeks of rescheduling and players being sidelined due to COVID concerns, the NFL is ending a historic season with a quarterback showdown for the ages. The Kansas City Chiefs' Patrick Mahomes and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' Tom Brady are both prolific quarterbacks at the opposite ends of their careers. Mahomes, a former Red Raider, is coming into the Super Bowl 55 as the reigning MVP who led the Chiefs to their first championship in 50 years. Brady, a future Hall of Famer with the record 6 Super Bowl wins, is leading his team on the sport's biggest stage after spending 19 years with the New England Patriots. Both players are known for their ability to make big plays when needed, and that could lead to some exciting moments on Sunday night. Super Bowl 55 is set to kick off at 5:30 p.m. on Sunday night on CBS.
Speaking of the Super Bowl, even if you're not a big football fan, one thing most everyone enjoys is the annual rollout of the new commercials aired on TV's biggest night. All this week, advertisers have been posting some of the commercials that will be seen on Sunday on social media. As usual, there's a pretty wide variety of concepts with one thing in common: celebrities. This year's A-listers include John Cena, Ashton Kutcher, Mila Kunis, Amy Schumer, John Travolta, and many more. The annual showcase of marketing creativity also includes a couple of retro throwbacks with the return of Mike Myers and Dana Carvey hosting their former SNL skit, Wayne's World, and a remake of Dolly Parton's classic hit, 9 to 5. But as with most things, this year, COVID has caused some changes, including the absence of regular advertisers like Budweiser, Coca-Cola, and Hyundai. But even with a few favorites missing, it looks like there will still be plenty of entertainment to enjoy between the on-field action.
So Kamryn, what's your favorite part of the Super Bowl, the game or the commercials?
Well, Brian, I would have to say the game. The commercials are great and they're so funny every year, but the game for sure.
Well, that's all for today's edition of the MCTV Weekday Update.
Thanks so much for joining us, and be sure to check ttuhub.net every day for more news. We'll see you next week.